Hey, how's it going, guys? Got another one here for you. This is going to be a little bit different this time around. It's going to be going over the Shroud of Turin, some new evidence they actually recently found. But it's your daily dive disciple. It's Garrett. So I'm gonna kind of go over this. I made a video about this before, kind of how it's biblical. The audio on that one's really bad, but it's one of my first videos I did. So, but this one's really cool. It's gonna go over the recent studies they found. Now I'm gonna go over the last video I actually had in that one about the proof of what the cloth really is, which is the Shroud of Turin, which is what the cloth that actually was Jesus's burial cloth, is what it really is. And so let's dive into this real quick. I'm gonna try to make this one fast for you guys. And so, yeah, the Shroud of Turin, is it real? Well, new studies are suggesting that, yeah, it is, actually. It really is. And so let's, I want to kind of show you that here. Hold on here. Some of my stuff is a little off. There we go. So let's see what this looks like here. And then, yeah, let's dive into this. This is pretty cool. So it's Jesus Only Jesus is the channel, by the way. So I obviously didn't make that video, but yeah, let's play this. Let's see what's in store.
I've taken an interest in the Shroud of Turin. This relic was said to be the burial cloth of Jesus Christ. 30 years ago, I had my doubts. However, over that period of time, we have seen great research go into the investigation of this piece of cloth. The information to follow is coming from a forensic pathologist that studied the cloth, and he will give you information that has convinced him that it is exclusively the only thing on this earth that can be the burial cloth of Jesus Christ. The Romans scourged and crucified a lot of people.
That argument doesn't fly at all. We could take 1 million different dead bodies right now, all scourged, crucified in the exact manner of the man in the shroud. Pour myrrh and aloes over the bodies, wrap them in every kind of fabric ever known to mankind, and we will never get an image like we see on the Shroud of Turin. So we have established a very important forensic fact. What is that fact? Putting a dead body, wrapping it in linen, will not leave an image like the shroud behind.
So they even tried to copy this, right? They tried to copy the actual process to try to make the shroud, and they couldn't. But they tried replicating it basically, and it's nothing nothing that we can do can recreate that image. Is basically what they're saying. But let's continue here.
The only image that you would have would be the bloodstains as a result of body-to-cloth contact. There's not going to be a thin, superficial image over those bloodstains, to say the least. There is only one thing that we know of on this earth that matches all these 4 unique characteristics. What is that? UVB rays in the UV spectrum at a very specific speed matches all of these characteristics, and that is not a coincidence. UV light in the UVB range will cause rapid aging in skin, dehydration, oxidation, meaning a chemical reaction takes place and causes your skin to turn a sepia color, a tan, and it only affects the superficial layers of your skin. Note there is a difference between sunlight and laser light. It took place causing it to turn a sepia color, and because it's UV light of a very specific speed in the UVB range, it only affected the superficial layers of the fabric. I just described how the Shroud of Turin linen fibrils were colored. Congratulations, you just learned in part, notice I said in part, how the image on the shroud was formed. Alright, let's go a little bit deeper.
So every cell in his body basically gave off perfect laser light. Amazing. Like an explosion, basically.
Is there anything in the human body that emits laser-like light in the UV range? And the answer is yes, there is. Human DNA emits photons of light in each second that passes. It's laser-like light, and it is also what? It is like in the UV range. In each second that passes, we emit approximately 100,000 up to 1 million photons of light in every second that passes. We just quoted you a scientific fact that has been observed. That is not wild theory, that is not speculation. So we know it's possible that DNA can emit light. We believe the process is amplified, like bringing life to something that was dead. Something that was unmoving now becomes moving. Something not oscillating now is oscillating. In the same way, a moving electrical signal was brought up close to the body of Jesus and caused his unmoving cells to start moving/oscillating. This caused light to emit from the DNA, which made contact with the shroud fabric. So a moving electrical signal, a source of light radiation, oscillating in the UVB range, came right up close to the body of Jesus and caused his DNA to oscillate at the same frequency. And this particular frequency causes the DNA to emit light. And that light made contact with the Shroud of Turin. And where the cloth was close to the body, more fibers were colored. And as there was greater separation, less of the linen fibers were colored in a manner which represented the exact distance the body was to the cloth, and typically see as light as being dark. So the image has all the properties of a photo negative, also has properties of an X-ray photo, also has properties of a hologram, both a transmission hologram.
Did you catch that? Holographic X-ray. Holy cow. If this doesn't convince you, I don't know what will. Nothing will, actually. Nothing will convince you if this doesn't. Amazing.
And a reflection hologram, yet it's neither. So again, what is the shroud? It's a photographic X-ray holographic image. Beyond any reasonable doubt. Beyond any doubt, a higher power intelligence/God is involved in the image process. This creator really went all out doing this image. Photographic X-ray holographic image. He loved this man. He loved this man deeply. He loved this man deeply.
There you have it. Photographic, X-ray, holographic. Jeez. Thanks, God. Not that it's for us, right? We already believe, but it's for those really who don't believe, right? To stand witness against them. Amazing stuff. Now I'm going to jump right to the next one, which is Dr. Steve Turley. They recently found some new evidence that kind of shocked everybody. Of course, it's about how they had new testing basically done.
Recent scientific study are shocking even the most ardent skeptics. Scientists from the Institute of Crystallography of the National Research Council applied what's called a wide-angle X-ray technique to study 8 small samples of fabric from the shroud. The technique enables researchers to actually examine the garment at a microscopic level, enabling them to determine the time the shroud was actually manufactured. The results of the X-ray examination were astounding. Scientists have confirmed that the shroud was indeed manufactured approximately 2,000 years ago, during the same time period Christ lived, was crucified, and, as the shroud testifies, rose again. Now, this...
Confirmed. It's been confirmed. Do you hear that? Before it was, he might actually say it next, but they had tested the cloth with carbon dating, but they tested the wrong spot of the cloth. They tested the patches since from the French fire. I think in like the 16 or 1700s maybe that happened. They tested the patches. But anyway.
This study, of course, contradicts the rather infamous 1988 study that used carbon dating to locate the origin of the shroud to the medieval period, over 1,000 years after the time of Christ. And that, in many respects, closed the case for many skeptics with regard to the authenticity of the shroud. But few realize that carbon dating was in many respects disproved by a Russian scientist a few years later.
They're like, all right, we're done. We got it. Wrap this one up. All over.
We have to remember that the shroud has survived a couple of fires, which is itself miraculous. And this Russian scientist theorized that the intense heat caused isotopic discharges from the silver, wood, and other materials in the shroud's container so as to affect the molecules of the shroud. And so it wasn't the cloth that dated back to the medieval period, but rather the container in which the cloth was stored that dates back to such a period. And so a number of dating tests since 1988 have concluded that the shroud originated approximately right around the time of Christ in the 1st century AD. And this latest study, looking at the shroud at the microscopic level, appears to have conclusively confirmed precisely that date. Now, this microscopic study is actually but the latest in a whole string of studies that collectively do appear to authenticate the shroud. For example, another study from a few years back confirmed that the blood stains on the shroud were in fact human blood. And most fascinatingly, it was the blood of a torture victim. It was a study conducted by Italy's National Research Council and the University of Padua's Department of Industrial Engineering. That study concluded that the man wrapped in the Shroud of Turin suffered a strong, what they called polytrauma, or multiple traumatic injuries. The research was published in a peer-reviewed academic journal. It made quite the stir in the academy. And what's so interesting here is that the conclusions of this study corroborate earlier ones that did in fact conclude that the remnant stains in the shroud were in fact human blood. We have multiple studies that do confirm that. In fact, when I was in the academy, I had a student of mine who did her research thesis on the topic of the Shroud of Turin, and she pointed out in her research that previous studies determined that the blood on the shroud is in fact real. It's human male blood of the type AB. It's a rare blood type, present in only about 3% of the world's population. And these studies found a high concentration of the pigment bilirubin, which is consistent of someone dying under great trauma or stress. And what this latest study found...
So what bilirubin does is shows that the blood is still living to this day. It's still alive. It's still alive, basically, is what it means. And so it's amazing. It truly is.
This one from a few years back was that the blood of the victim exemplifies a high degree not merely of trauma, but of multiple traumatic injuries, such as to the head, torso, wrists, legs, feet. The blood in this current study found nanoparticles of a very particular structure, size, and distribution, which are not typical for the blood of a healthy person, but rather contain levels of creatinine and ferritin found in patients who endured multiple violent traumas, such as in the case with torture. So now we have a study at the micro level that's confirmed the shroud was manufactured during the time of Christ, 2,000 years ago. And we have multiple studies confirming that the blood splotches on the garment were indeed human and that they exemplified an extremely violent death. But there's something even more astonishing here when it comes to the shroud, something that's going to absolutely blow your mind. Gang, as you all know, I'm very passionate about the fact that we can't rescue our nation if...
Amazing, amazing. So we're going to skip this liver health thing he's going to do. And let's keep going here.
It's a relic known as the Sudarium Christi, the face...
That's not it, what I'm looking for. Oh, maybe it is.
Christi is a linen cloth that doesn't have an image on it, but it does have blood stains that appear around where the eyes of the victim would have been. And astonishingly, scientists have confirmed that the blood splotches on the Sudarium match the same blood chemistry found on the Shroud of Turin in Italy. In other words, the blood on the shroud and the blood on the Sudarium, or face cloth, came from the same victim.
Oh, man.
But again, the evidence gets even more astonishing. The Shroud of Turin has also been found to have pollen particles that are specific to the area of Jerusalem, and amazingly found only at the beginning of springtime, say in late March, which would have been the time of the Passover when Christ was crucified.
March.
It's no wonder that my student concluded that with the dating of the cloth to the 1st century, its proximity to Jerusalem via the pollen particle testing, and the human blood revealing a figure who suffered trauma like that suffered by Jesus of Nazareth in his crucifixion, she concluded that the image of the Shroud of Turin is in fact the face of Jesus Christ. So the Shroud of Turin continues to be one of the most mysterious, perplexing, and indeed fascinating enigmas of our time. And I've got to admit that I'm more and more impressed at the evidence of its authenticity as another historical indicator marking the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead and the blossoming of a world wherein all things are made new.
So he was quite literally the light of the world. And that's what happened. Every cell in his body gave off light. Perfect light, laser light, which your cells give off. And now it's been proven beyond a shadow of doubt. Yeah, it's him. It was him. Now, this isn't, again, it's not for us who already believe. It's really for those who don't believe, to stand witness against them, right? And so that is awesome. And so I usually have my videos set up, if you have never seen this before, that I have a lot of Bible passages up above here, above my head, right up here. But this one is a more or less a reaction video, right? It's a reaction video, so pretty cool, guys. But stay tuned to the next one, and if you, I'll make sure to make more here. But see you guys.